welcome to another community session, Pagoda platform. Today we have Tiffany, the product manager for data platform of the Pagoda platform, and she'll be taking us through a few things. So yeah, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Thank you, Josh. Hi, I'm Tiffany, and I'm excited to introduce the ecosystem of our data platform, recent changes, and also our roadmaps in general. So yeah, let's get started. Yep. Awesome. So
Cool.
Let's get started with the data platform decision tree. And so I'm not sure if I shared this publicly before, but
I don't think so. It's a little tiny. If we can zoom in a little bit.
Yeah, I will.
Cool.
Yeah, I will. But overall, so this is the long-term plan, which is also the roadmap for data platform in general. We want to develop the plans we have for all the products, and we separate them by 3 large stack here. And you can see in different colors, of course. One is the building stack, which is the green portion. We're going to go over it each one by one very quickly. And the second portion is the observability stack. So it's everything, tools and products we are going to develop for the observability functionality. And the last portion is the growth section, the growth stack. So this is all the growth tools or marketing tools or any tools that are going to aid and help the projects to grow. So let's get started with the first tree here. So I can zoom in even more if we want to, but the little red box saying that start here, and the prompt I have here overall, the guiding and the mission of this data stack, building stack, is I am building my DApp and I need to read and write data from the blockchain. So I think I mentioned it last time, the blockchain from a data perspective could be understood as like a big giant database. So yeah, as a result, you need to read data and write data from that big database. And the first question we have here is actually, do you want to use a managed infrastructure? So we know a lot of folks out there actually want to have their own set of infrastructure, and and we definitely want to offer that as an option here. So if your answer is no to the managed infrastructure, then you can definitely have your own node running, and you can run your node to power the RPC calls. And we have the product called Indexer Framework that you can use that node to power and index your data yourself. And if your answer is yes, and you're like, you know what, I don't, I want just less stuff, managed service, good quality, less work on my end, of course, we're here to help. And the first question is, do you want to write to the blockchain and read the most primitive data? And if the answer is yes, it's something we're all familiar with, is start using the RPC, and Pagoda RPC actually provides a premium RPC service with a really good SLA that is coming, and we have a couple of functionalities, also stats page, request explorer, all of that to help you monitor your usage as well as help you debug more easily. And we have a 100x RPC project, which will enable us to merge the archival node and the regular node. So you actually don't need to separate it by, I need to, if it's data within the 5 epochs, I need to use one or the other. You don't need to worry about that anymore. So next we have, do you want to sort through blocks, chunks, transactions, accounts, contracts, events, tokens, and filter them by standard parameters of choice? So examples of this will be, if I want to get certain blocks at a certain timestamp, right? If I want to get certain transactions sent by Josh or Austin, received by Tiffany, then you will be able to use these API endpoints to filter them directly. So no more complex filtering and all of that. Just get the information you need by input the parameters you need. You can understand it as like a filter or search function with a set of filters. And Enhanced API is there to help with that. And we are thinking about renaming this Enhanced API Works just because it's not intuitive. So we will love any feedbacks, suggestions on how we rename it. Okay, next is, do you need custom data points and functionalities within your smart contracts or custom aggregations? So that is, related to if you want to plug in a time series table, something related to the maximum or the minimum in the 7-day range or 24 hours range, or even, more complicated things like that. It's not covered by the enhanced API. So we do have something else that's here to help. So the query API is actually going to enable this whole custom experience of the data points that you care about within your smart contract, and in particular to your own application, as well as you can design or define your own way of aggregation. So yeah, and we are in active development of query API as well, and we are hoping to release a MVP or beta version very soon, and we'll have a web page that we're going to spin up for you guys to sign up if you're interested in the beta testing. So we're going to get you in early to get a first peek of what this product is about. Also, if none of these fulfill your needs or requirements, and you're like, what, none of these fulfill my requirements of data, which I hope is very unlikely, which is by design. But if you still think you have a very particular use case, extreme, very big load of data you want to query, then we have these near lake framework that you can use. So what this does is we actually run our node and index all the data, dump it in an S3 bucket. So it's actually also a managed service. You don't need to manage your own node. You don't need to manage the upgrade of the node or a core, all of that fun stuff. We actually take care of all of that for you. And you can just use an S3 bucket, which is something a lot of people are familiar with, a data lake within AWS. And you can pay for the data you read, and you can build indexers on top. And we have a near lake indexer framework to help with that. And also, we're in the process of developing a easier and more advanced version of the near lake indexer framework. So a couple of comments and feedback we get from community around the lake framework is that it's still pretty complicated. You have to go through some details. So we're sugarcoating a lot of them in. And from now on, you're probably going to look at, getting a blocks information before, probably like 20, 30 different lines of code. Now it's probably going to be less than 10. So it's a pretty big significant improvement on that framework as well. And we're in active process of collaborating with a couple of community members to build more templates and examples around these two. So it will also be an increase and improve in usability. Okay, moving on. So once you have your data and you know what you want, there are a couple of ways that you want to access that data. So you have the option of getting that data to push to you using a WebSocket and webhooks. We know that community are requesting this feature or this functionality, and we definitely hear that, and we are in the planning of development of that. And how do I know if my usage and if these endpoints are running fine? So this links to the whole observability stack that we're going to go through next. We have a lot of observability tools that can help you with understanding how your data flows, how your infrastructure runs. And lastly is, what else can I do with my data? So these are some non-determined, still being decided, still been planned and scoped out tools, but we hope to offer no-code integration tools like Zapier to get your data out of the blockchain and connecting to wherever you need. And we hope to connect to Oracle, Squash Chain connectors, and all of that to really expand your data to be used in different scenarios and different use cases. Awesome. So that's the building stack. And like I mentioned in here, the observability stack is already previewed. So I'm going to go through that now. For observability stack, the prompt here is you want the tools for monitoring and maintenance to help you easily debug. And there are two sections in observability. One is the visibility into your infrastructure and the API request you make. And the second portion is visibility into your smart contract and its operational details. That is the two areas we identified as the most helpful for developers in terms of the observability portion. So let's go through the first one on the left, the visibility into the infrastructure. So you definitely want to understand your usage and the performance, latency, any bugs, errors that happens with RPC or API calls, all the API calls you made using the Pagoda services. And Pagoda API stats are there to help. And then we'll have, do we have a screenshot? I think we do. Okay, yeah. I think we do have a screenshot here in a documentation around what does that look like right now. So the statistic page will have a time series of how many requests you make, and as well as the breakdown by the method type, and we're adding more to it as well. So stay tuned, and you will be able to get, your not so advanced Grafana, but we're working towards that. And next up, we have the get alerted if the API request is failed. So you definitely want to know like what happens or any potential incidents as soon as it could occur. So we want to monitor it from the API level. And this is also a product that's not been scoped, but we realize that there's a need. And next we have the go through request to better debug. So once you know that your API request is failed, then how do I easily debug that? What is actually going wrong with my API request? And we are actually going to dump all the logs, record and dump all the logs, and visualize it in a request logs explore kind of format for you, so you can actually see what's going on with the API request, the returns, response, and potentially we can collaborate with other tools that you use in the Near ecosystem to actually track your bug all the way to the contract level. Cool. So the next on the right, we have the visibility into smart contracts, operational details. So the first one is our old friend Explore. You want to understand and troubleshooting smart contract behavior, digging into any particular blocks, transactions, receipts, anything like that. You can easily go to Explore and do that search. We are having multiple initiatives to improve Explore, improve the readability, usability, and all of that. So stay tuned, and we look forward for your feedback as well and your input on what you think needs to be improved on Explore. And second, we have the know and react activity and incident and I care about before my user. So this focus on the smart contract and on-chain activity. It's also a product that we probably are familiar with, hopefully, is the Pagoda alerts and triggering. You can actually set a couple of conditions about your smart contract, such as like the failed requests, failed transactions, or particular function calls or particular events. And we're in the process of implementing, like more powerful alerts and triggers. And the more intelligent portion of that would be hopefully anomaly detection using the data. And this has also not been scoped, and it's something that we want to develop, but it's a fun thing to be planned. And next is understand my running costs on here. So we do have a couple of folks really interested and really wanting to know about their storage cost and gas cost, and how it's used, where is it allocated, how it's calculated. And we definitely want to do a better job in visualizing them and giving the visibility of those usage. So yeah, so that's also in scope and planned. And next and last but not least, we have the growth stack. So once you have your project up and running, you probably will care about, like, I really want to maximize my impact and growth to the community, to your users, to scale your product, to scale your business. And here we also have two portions. One is have a dashboard for business intelligence purpose for my DApp. And we already have a Pagoda Analytics dashboard available in console, which provides you with analysis of transaction, TVL, my users, gas, all of that fun information about your smart contract and your on-chain activity. And next, we want to have like to build your own dashboard portion, that if there's something that you are interested about, you want to define your own metrics, then you have the ability to do so. More things we want to plan for the template dashboard is also, we know there are needs for our projects to actually build dashboard for the VC purpose, for them to review or to pitch, to fundraise. So we will be working with a couple of experienced VC experts to help build dashboards available for those purposes, and there will be more other purposes dashboard that could be built and developed with consultation from the experts. So hopefully those will also be in direct help with our projects to grow and to maximize their impact. And the last portion is you want to grow your DApp, and this is some fun stuff using data. So you do want to understand your users better for personalization and optimization. So Pagoda Insights is a product that we're planning to use the on-chain data that we have and to build a custom or account profile, account 360 profile it will all be anonymous for sure. It will be just based on account address. But yeah, so like this will be a big data science, machine learning, all that you can say, fun stuff we want to build to analyze how each user is, and are they more, for example, like parameters will be, are they more prone to DeFi? Are they more prone to NFTs? Are they active member of DAOs? Are they a high frequency trader or a low frequency buyer? So all of those fun stuff will be available, and we hope to have those to help the projects on chain to easily like understand their users better and know where they can target their users, and potentially do some fun stuff with personalization and their recommendation, customize their customer experience, all of that. This is also not yet been developed, but it's in active planning. And last is, do you want to increase your custom outreach channels? And we are thinking about creative ways to connect to other marketing tools. Zapier was one, and with Zapier, you can actually connect to multiple dimensions and multiple tools that's available in the Web2 world in the marketing perspective. So yeah, we definitely want to utilize the data in that perspective as well. This has not yet been scoped or resource allocated, but this is on our mind. So yeah, that's all of the decision tree, and we are in the process working with our fellow DevRel team here to create a public page for these decision trees, so you can actually look at it offline yourself, looking at the documentation we have. And yeah, and speaking of documentation, that's the next section I want to go through, and this is also collaboration with the brilliant team here, the DevRel team, especially Damien, and yeah, so we have made some changes in our documentation and around indexers. So we hear is that, we definitely want to have indexer as a concept to be better introduced and better understood by the community. Why is the documentation for indexer a separate page? We get questions like that. So we actually merged them now and all available in the near docs. So if you go on the first landing page for near docs, you can actually see the indexer portion here, and then you can go in and there's concepts about introduction to indexers. We merged some of the content we have for indexer documentation that we already created, so it's actually here available now in the events topic and the indexer as a whole topic and the concept section. And there are a couple of tools that we mentioned earlier around indexer framework and lake framework for your indexer building, so you can actually look at them, read about them, look at what's going on. And we also have another amazing portion here is near data flow. So one pain points we realize about building indexers, or the whole concept of indexers or reading data from a blockchain that we hear from a developer, is that how data flows actually on your blockchain, or how data is stored in your blockchain, or how it's a structure on your blockchain is very not clear. It's like hard to understand. It's like it's complicated to figure out, and that's like the highest barrier of entry in building the indexer for a lot of our developers. So we actually create a huge portion here about data flow on here, and you have a little cute video that we created for you to explain the concept. You also have the word version of that video here, so you can go through. It's very clear to see, from chunks to from blocks to chunks to shards even, and how transactions become execution outcome, receipts, and how it's returned, and all of that relationship here. And we also have another newly released page that's called Data on a Blockchain, and this is also a high-level introduction on like the read data and write data of you, like anyone writing to near blockchain, reading data from a near blockchain, and really explain it in a really easy to understand way with some real life examples and how it's related to the data tools we offer. And you can also find a little decision tree here. That's the most recent one, and then this is much smaller than what we see earlier, but this is our current state of what it is in the decision tree and the data tools at Near Ecosystem. So you can refer to this as like what's going on right now, what are the things I can use. And last but not least, you have this token transfer flow, which is also explaining, what's going on if you have a transaction that you want to track. And this is also, very important area. And in the developed, I believe in the develop area, we also have, we have indexer for Explore here. So if you wanted to monitor the user activity We also have a couple of examples and important information that you can use for, create the blockchain history using the indexer for Explorer. And you can also migrate to near lake framework. We know a lot of projects were using indexer framework before, and they would like to use near lake framework just because, it's easier. You don't need to run your own node, all of that. Really good benefits. So there's some code you can also use to migrate to near lake framework and easily. And we have a couple of folks already did this, and replied was really good about this tutorial. It's really easy to use and really smooth transition. And we also have a couple of other tutorials around near lake indexers in the example and tutorial section. And you have, more than a couple. Getting started, JS basic, Python tutorial, NFT indexers, it's more advanced version. And like I said, we are in the process of working with more community members to actually build this and scale this into more use case driven tutorials as well. So not only an NFT indexer, but also a DeFi, more is coming. So yeah, that's everything I want to share for the updates here. It's mostly around the plan for a data platform team and the things we have done on documentation side, which is something we realized, and we received feedback from the community saying that, this was something that they would appreciate to be improved, to see improvements on. And yeah, so that's all I have today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Tiffany. Super appreciate it. Austin, did you have anything to add to the conversation today?
No, Tiffany crushed it. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Tiffany.
Awesome. Cool. Well, yeah, I don't see any questions in the audience. Yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, yeah, we could probably wrap up a little bit early and upload it to YouTube. And yeah, if you have any questions there, please feel free to leave a comment.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. We'll see you next time.